so season 4 was a big one for the show. We finally got to see the vision of Jerry Davis and Innes Lloyd, alongside getting a new Doctor for the first time in the show's history. There were still one or two lows, but for the most part this was a strong season, and perhaps the strongest of the show so far. There weren't as many companion changes as the previous season, which really helped things, but at the same time the new ones didn't get all the time to shine they needed. So the season opened with The Smugglers, a fine enough historical, but I don't really remember much about it or have any strong feelings for it. Following that up was The 10th Planet, one of the biggest of the season. While the plot itself was a bit lacklustre, the introduction of the Cybermen is something that can't be ignored, and then the first regeneration in the show, which changed it forever. The power of the Daleks introduced a new Doctor with one of the greatest Dalek stories ever, with an incredibly strong plot, which was only hindered by the forced removal of Ben and Polly for an episode each. It's a much stronger opening serial for Troughton than Hartnell got. The Highlanders was the final pure historical of the show. It's not its best, but it's definitely stronger than the previous one. It also introduces one of the show's longest running and most iconic companions, which gives it an extra something which others don't have. The Underwater Menace obviously the weakest and worst in the season. While it has a very iconic moment, the majority of it is a bit confusing at best and stupid at worst. It does try to be impressive with its visuals, but doesn't really pull it off, at least in the surviving footage. The Moonbase saw the big return of the Cybermen, and was a much stronger serial than the 10th Planet. The Doctor is an actual part of the plot and moves things along, with the Cybermen feeling a lot stronger as a threat than before. It's unfortunate that Jamie is sidelined for the entire thing. The Macra Terror is the only serial to fully utilise the quartet of this season. The Macra themselves do leave a lot to be desired, but the story is strong. It's very different to most other serials of the era, and stands out despite the monster. The Faceless Ones was a disappointing end to two companions, but it really pushed a new dynamic between the Doctor and Jamie. The plot itself is interesting, but stretched out too far, and really suffers. The Evil of the Daleks ended the season on a high. While not as good as the previous Dalek serial, it's still stronger than most that came before. It also introduces a new companion, and gives us what was intended to be the final end of the Daleks. From worst to best, obviously in last place is the Underwater Menace. Then we have the Smugglers, the Faceless Ones, the 10th Planet, the Highlanders, the Moonbase, the Evil of the Daleks, the Macra Terror, and in top spot is the Power of the Daleks. Strong characters, we have quite a few. Less than last year, but still a decent amount. We also for the first time have a new Doctor to talk about, which shakes things up, although most of what I have to say about Hartnell's incarnation has already been said, but I will still acknowledge him here, as we saw him reach the end of his tenure, with the first regeneration. So obviously we have the fact that the Doctor continued doing less in his stories, with him missing an entire episode, but when he got a chance to do something, he was as strong as ever, with his emotional final moments really hitting hard. The newer incarnation made a strong first impression, even if his odd quirks in his first episode were a risky decision. But once the Daleks were revealed, he pulled himself together and became the Doctor we all know, although reshuffled. It's a very interesting process as we watch him reveal his personality across his first few serials, going from an energetic clown of sorts to a warrior who stands against evil, with these two sides soon balancing themselves out in one personality, which gives us a very different incarnation, although he does lose his love of hats as the series goes on. Next is Ben, who's probably the most varied companion in this season. Often he is the heavy lifter, dealing with the action, especially in earlier serials while Hartnell is still the Doctor. But as the series goes on, the addition of Jamie means that the reshuffling of lines and roles meant that he got a bit muddled, being made smarter on occasion and sort of disappearing from the Highlanders, although he really shines in the Macra Terror when the script really uses him in a very different way to how he was before. Polly is more interesting than she was last season, with her feeling a lot more rounded. We have her used a lot more than before, with her having many standout moments where she even upstages Ben. The serial they used her best is probably The Highlanders, where she's separated from the rest of the trio for the majority of it, and so gets many scenes in which she is showing off her intelligence and abilities. But even when the serials don't utilise her to her fullest, she still has plenty of small moments throughout. So there isn't a lot to say about Jamie given his sudden introduction, which led to him not doing a lot. While he is mostly strong in the Highlanders, he doesn't really get a chance to shine until the Macra Terror, when he is used far more effectively than in the previous serials. Then he really comes into his own in the Faceless Ones, but it's the Evil of the Daleks where Jamie feels like he's really become a main character, without anything holding him back or being forced to share screen time. Victoria is the latest addition, and since she's only just become a companion, there is less to say about her than Jamie, with her being introduced at the last minute. It means that she is yet to have any proper interactions with the Doctor or Jamie to build a dynamic, and yet to have any adventures. She hasn't even been in the TARDIS yet, so next season will be the one to show what she can do and what there is to her. So season 4 was strong for the most part, and a lot more consistent than the previous season. The casts were also more consistent with only a few minor changes. It's one of the biggest seasons in the show, due to the first regeneration, which makes it unfortunate that it's mostly missing, with it being the only season to not have any surviving serials. Despite this lack of footage, the mostly strong writing of many serials does really help, with several being incredible despite the lack of visuals. Once more, the bar has been set high for the next season, which also has the advantage of actually having surviving episodes, meaning at last we can experience a Troughton era story as intended.